Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel and welcome to another GT Sport Daily Race review. It's 2 in a row now, so it is. Having not done one for a while, we've now hit 2 in a row. We're still at the Red Bull Ring in Austria, it's still Group 4, it's still this week's Daily Race C, and this race is, fair to say, fairly action-packed. So many incidents in it, I haven't included all of them within the race review, so hopefully this one should keep you entertained. As always, we put the race details up on the screen there, you should know them by now. 12 laps, hard tyres, mandatory pit stop, don't change tyres, tyre weight at times 3, fuel at times 2. So here is the lobby for this one. We're down in P15. We did do a qualifying time in our Hyundai Genesis, a 36.9, but we're only good enough for 15th on this grid, around about 11 o'clock on a Wednesday morning in the UK. Let's see if we can have some fun with this one. So as the race gets underway, for whatever reason, the Polish driver in front of us actually had a Polish sandwich here, both the drivers are going to feature in the opening laps of this, or the opening footage of this race. But Revention here seems to be a little bit slow as the race gets underway, and we put them under a little bit of pressure into turn number 1, and we're going to get a nice run on them down in towards turn number 2. Take a look up the inside here, but Revention's like, no, not happening. So we go for a little look round the outside, but not good enough on the brakes in the Hyundai compared to the Ferrari, and Revention holds on to that position. Actually, take a little bit of a touch from Matthew, the other Polish driver behind us, which was maybe a little bit of a sign of what was going to come. Matthew's car positioning, I would certainly call into question over the course of this opening lap. So Revention feels the need to go defensive down in towards turn number 3 or 4, depending on how you look at it, and we end up in the middle of 3 drivers here. How is it they put it in iRacing? 3 wide, you're in the middle. But we managed to hold off Matthew in the BMW there, who's taking a look around the outside. But Revention is now starting to hold us up quite badly, and in these kind of circumstances you certainly have to be thinking about trying to go into the pit lane and get some clear track, and that's definitely what our thought process was here. We've got a little bit of a run down towards the inside, but we're thinking let's get the car into the inside anyway, make our intentions clear that we're going to go into the pit lane. So we're going to turn into the pit lane, and then all of a sudden we're going at 45 degrees with a car on our inside, and yeah, it all gets a little bit messy, a little bit of a cluster, I think it would be fair to say. The big beneficiary of that is the yellow Ferrari, the Spanish driver Imne, who's also going to feature a little bit later in this video. Overtakes all 3 of us and drives off into the sunset quite happy. So let's take a look at this from Matthew, the Polish driver's perspective. So that's us on the inside there. Now the first thing I want to point out in my defence is that they actually drive all the way off the track, all 4 wheels over the white line. Now I'm pretty sure that picks up a half-second penalty if you do that, and that's the reason they kind of end up on our inside. As we go to turn in, their nose is there, and it all goes a little bit Pete Tong. Now it goes most Pete Tong for our friend Matthew here. Now let me know what you think. I had no idea that car was there at the time. I was concentrating on getting my car to the inside, not making contact with the other Polish driver and making my pit stop. Now, is that my fault for not knowing that driver's there, or has Matthew put his car in a silly position knowing there's a chance that somebody might pit there? They have driven all 4 wheels off the track as well, which I think is a big reason why they end up in the position that they are in. But let me know in the comments what you think of that one. My fault, Matthew's fault, or just a racing incident or a circumstance of a rather poor pit lane entry. So we have to start recovering from that little incident. We make up a position on a couple of drivers as they run wide or serve penalties, and at the end of lap number 5 here, having caught the German driver, we are going to dive into the pits. Now remember, we were talking about the yellow Ferrari. They actually pitted at the end of lap number 4 when they were just in front of us. So as we leave the pits here, let's jump on board with that yellow Ferrari. It's a Spanish driver, I believe their name's Imne. Have we got the jump on them, as we have now both completed our mandatory pit stop, and it's looking pretty good for us. That's our Hyundai in front of the yellow Ferrari here. However, given the difference in speed as you leave the pit lane, the Ferrari's got a good run down towards turn number 3, as it officially is, or turn number 2 as it feels like. A little bit braver on the brakes than us. We get a little bit of an oversteer moment on the exit of the hairpin and actually make a little bit of contact with the Ferrari. Maybe a little bit naughty on our part, to be honest, but we carry on anyway. We go defensive down towards turn number 3 here. Again, Spanish driver very confident in the brakes, goes nice and wide, leaves tons of room on the inside. Slightest little bit of contact there, but he's now got the car far enough alongside us to have the inside for the next corner, which is a left-hander. We're going to keep fighting it around the outside because I know I'm faster and I don't want to be behind this driver, but they've got the job done. We have to concede the position, and yeah, I'm not going to lie, my race kind of imploded at this point because somehow, having not picked up a penalty all race long, or all in the previous race, or at all in the race that I do after this, we managed to pick up 3 half-second penalties in 4 corners. The head had gone. We were so annoyed with ourselves for ending up behind the Spanish driver there, not defending it hard enough, or not having the skill or the ability to defend it. We just let things go to pot, to be honest with you. And that's going to put us all the way down in P16 by the time we serve that penalty. Now, we kind of managed to dispatch 2 of those drivers fairly quickly. They go into the downhill right-hander there far too deep. So that allows us to dispatch one of the drivers who is in an RCZ. So their tyres are starting to go at this bit. We're going to hold it round the outside of Revention, who we've seen on lap number 1. Through these 2 left-hand corners, and we just keep enough of the car around the outside here to claim the apex and make sure we're on the inside for the next corner, on the penultimate corner, which you can make a move on as long as you're far enough alongside the other car, which we are in this case. So as long as we don't understeer wide, pick up another penalty, or allow the Ferrari driver to cut back on us, we should be up into P14. With around about 2/3 of the race gone though, not a great position to be in, and we're looking at a pretty substantial DR loss unless we do something about this. However, let's refocus, let's forget about those penalties. There is a big group of cars up ahead. As you can see, we've caught up to them with a couple of laps, or 2.5 laps to go. There is always the possibility of some shenanigans in Gran Turismo Sport, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, this race does not disappoint for the next couple of laps. So we're going to make 1 position up straight away on an RCZ. By lap number 10, a lot of drivers are going to have no tyres left on their RCZs, so it means they have no traction out of the corners. We've got another RCZ struggling up ahead. They're going to go wide into the last corner and give us a nice easy overtake down towards turn number 1. In fact, the overtake is done long before turn number 1. So that's us up into 12th place as we start lap number 11. Fast forwarding here up to beyond the hairpin, you can see they've all started to hold themselves up as they go through the hairpin. To be expected when you've got a big gaggle of cars, and now down into the tricky downhill braking zone for the right-hander. There's always a recipe for disaster here for a few drivers, and it's definitely gone wrong for a couple of them. So another 2 positions made up as 2 of the drivers decide to start making sandcastles, and somebody's slow off the corner as well, allowing us up the inside into this left-hander here. So 5 positions made up since we kind of refocused. Is there any more positions still to be had? 4 cars in front of us, and as we said, it's Gran Turismo Sport. There's always the potential for some shenanigans, particularly with the penalty system still on holiday. We're still looking for the penalty system. I'm sure it'll be back at some point, probably Gran Turismo 7 at this rate. But yeah, it's not ideal to not have the penalty system because it means that drivers will be a little bit more divey, a little bit more brazen than usual. Sometimes it works out for you though, as you've just seen there. Drivers going for... I never actually looked back on the moves down towards that downhill corner, but I suspect there was some shenanigans going on. So on to lap number 12, we get a good run on the cars in front of us down towards the hairpin. The French driver has had a very poor run, and we're going to kind of look for the inside here. Now, the best place to be in a situation like this, which is never good, is to be on the inside. So we brake nice and early, we turn in nice and tight, we take a little bit of a knock, get on the power nice and early. There's somebody goes spinning off, I'm not sure entirely what happened there. I don't think we did anything wrong in that situation. We broke nice and early, kept the car nice and tight, but we're up now into P number 7. I had a funny feeling what's about to happen was going to happen. The Austrian driver going for a very big dive down our inside. We've seen it coming on the radar. We had a feeling it was going to happen, so we're ready for it. So we just let them overshoot the corner and retake that position. Now, I'd much rather a driver goes for a proper dive like that where it gives you a chance to go for the cutback, and they don't make contact with your car, rather than the kind of nose poking moves that a lot of people do. Anybody who watches my streams will know I'm not a big fan of nose pokers. I think it's very rude when people just poke their nose into the slightest, they poke their nose into an apex, it's always closing, knowing the apex is going to close, and then just bump your car wide and they overtake you. So respect to the Austrian, he went for the move, he went for it properly, didn't come off for them. I think they're still in P number 9 there, so not a disaster. I think they started at the back as well. And look at the driver up in P number 5 there, our Spanish friend Imne, who we were kind of side by side with for half a lap. So it just goes to show you again the small margins in these races that can cost you positions. But yeah, an enjoyable one overall. It had a little bit of everything, had some craziness going on at the end of lap number 1. We picked up some silly track limits penalties, but again, the lesson here in this one is the old cliche, isn't it? The old cliche of never give in, you never know what's going to happen. But it is true, because with 2 laps to go, we were in P14 and all of a sudden we're up in P7 and have averted a little bit of a disastrous result for our DR rating for the old Womble Boss account. So let me know what you think of the race. Let me know what you think about that instant at the end of lap number 1 with the pit lane. Another wee screenshot of it just about to appear. Who was doing the blame? Should I have known the car was there? Should Matthew not have put his car where it was? Was it just a racing incident, or was it just basically bad pit lane placement? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye now.